Hi, everybody, which I assume is absolutely nobody so far. Just turning on early to get things set up because this is my first live stream. So, can you do a search for my videos real quick? It should say Leadingblind up there, right?
Yep.
So click enter. Is there one that says I'm going live, or can you find my channel?
Let's see.
You can use the mouse. The mouse is here.
Okay.
Give us a minute, people. If anybody's there. Okay.
There's you.
So that's my channel?
Yep.
Okay. All right, now, do you see the live thing underneath there anymore?
Yep, live now.
Okay, click on that. I've already muted it, so that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
And there's the chat room. Say anybody's in there yet? Probably not, but.
Press the Alt key to pause the chat and point to a message to delete it.
We're doing this for the first time.
If you're doing this for the first time, please bear with us.
Alright. What's that yellow thing that came up there?
Leadingblind. It says say something.
Ah, okay. Alright. Did it pop up?
No, it doesn't. It didn't even look like you would type.
This is how wonderful we are at this.
You can tell we're technologically impaired.
Well, I'm legally blind. You're technologically impaired. There's a difference.
No, I'm on my way to blind too. So between the two of us, this will get done at some. I promise. It's weird because you were trying to get it typed in right here, right?
Yeah,
where
there's
it
a
says
little
say something.
down here. There should be a little box to type in.
No, what?
No, okay, that closed it.
Sorry.
You closed the chat room. Oh goodness.
They'll just think we're entertaining for comic relief.
Oh yeah, tell me about it. Where did my chat room go?
Scroll down a little. It says one watching now.
Oh.
Yeah, it's you from your phone.
Yeah, that would be me. Well, that's me from right here.
Yeah, you.
Show chat. There we go. It said show chat. It says say something right here.
Yep.
There, something showed up.
That's better.
Yep. And we did this super early so we could adjust things like the phone, open the chat room and another on my computer, all that stuff. So, oh shoot, I completely forgot about that. I'll be right back. I'm trying not to forget my puppy. I forgot it. Hold on, baby. Are you soaking wet yet? You gonna take it off?
Enzo kind of runs the show, everybody.
Yep. You've seen Enzo in my last video. Everybody knows Enzo now. Well, the few people who bothered to watch. Okay, am I back in frame again?
Yes.
Good. That's important. It's very important.
Yes, it is.
So, what are you reading right now?
What am I reading right now? I'm actually reading a self-development book called Think Big.
Okay.
And it sort of shows you how to you think you limit yourself in your beliefs, but this is kind of teaching you to expand them.
Oh,
and
that's
to
cool.
say, I believe in myself more, which is part of why we did this live, because we're both nervous, but we figured if we don't step out of our comfort zones, we're never going to get anywhere. So
yeah, she's helping me with my channel. I'm helping her to
work with a company that I work with. It's an international company, but we're not allowed to say the name. So
yeah, that's fine. Just a company she's going to be doing promotions for and live chats for eventually. So
Yeah.
this is breaking her in. At least I'm used to the camera a little bit, even though I've never been live. Okay, well, right now, as you know, I only really listen to audiobooks anymore because of my blindness. But I'm listening to Stephen King and Peter Straub's The Talisman again. And I'm almost done with that, and my dog found one of his toys, so that is the rustling you're hearing. And of course, him running across the floor. You can also hear my son in the other room watching YouTube on a completely different channel. All right, what time does my computer say it is?
5:50.
All right, so we got about 10 minutes to waste. So let's see. I just read that I am finishing The Talisman. I'm so glad I got a hold of that audiobook of Lisa Gardner's Find Her.
Mhm.
It's a really good mystery. Did you listen to that audiobook when I lent it to Dean?
No,
No.
I didn't.
Okay. That one's cool. That one's a thriller about this girl that when she was in college and on spring break, she'd gotten abducted, and she was in captivity for something like 400 some odd days.
Mhm.
And then eventually she was rescued, and the story takes place 5 years later, where she is trying to find another missing girl, and she's kind of a vigilante, but she gets captured again, and the cop that was looking at her for the murder of a sex offender that had just kidnapped her again.
Mhm.
She gets kidnapped, and that detective has to look for her. We'll be talking about that author more in the tag.
Yes.
Because that's should be in my favorite series list. If it's not, I'll have to remember to add that. Is that in there? Can you look at that question and see if I wrote that down?
Okay, you've got favorite series. Let's see here.
You
You
tell
have
me it should be
let's
D.D. Warren.
That's the name of the series.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's
No,
not
okay.
in your favorite series.
So can you just put down D.D. Warren?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a couple that I didn't put because I love books so much. Let's see. Still just me. If anybody else does come in, I certainly hope you'll say hi. Oh, isn't that funny seeing the lag?
It is.
It's like I do this and I do it.
We're easily amused, in case you didn't notice.
I'm starting to understand why things can get so complicated when I'm watching Decker Shadows live and wired. Because it definitely, things must lag a lot. I get the same problem with Twitch all the time. It's like, why is he answering that question now? I typed it 10 minutes ago. Lag is so seriously bad. I'm just getting nervous waiting for 6 o'clock now. Might have to start a little early, but at least not until 5:55, because that'll make the most sense.
Yep.
So, yeah. The audiobooks I actually have. I have Phantom of the Opera, The Gaston Leroux. I have, I don't have Wicked, but I have Son of a Witch, the second book in that series. I also have The Sixth Target. Is that the Women's Murder Club one? Somebody talking to us? Hey. Here, do you want me to turn the magnifier on?
Yeah.
Okay. You can go ahead and turn the magnifier on, and then you can adjust it how you need.
Okay.
Yeah, the color inversion is on too, so you can hit the minus a couple of times, and then you go that way. Does that help? Except for the going up too high thing. You can minimize it, of course, the little thing.
Okay.
So what do you say?
Josh Harden. G'day, folks. Just joined in, and yes, stream lag is a nasty business. Hope things are well.
How you doing, Josh? We started early just so we could set crap up. I knew Josh from middle school.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Nice meeting you, John.
This is my sister-in-law, Dawn.
Yeah.
And I told him this morning we might be, and he said, I didn't get a good night's sleep last night.
Oh.
So,
Good afternoon.
so my guess is the lag is about 15 seconds or so. So it's not too extreme.
Yeah, it's not that bad. Very strange to look at, but it's not that bad. Okay.
All right. What time does the clock say now? You can't look at it, can you? That's funny.
Yeah.
I keep shoving this thing. I gotta leave that right there. Got it out right?
No, that doesn't tell me what time it is either.
No,
I think
but
we
you
should
can see the chat room, so that's okay.
Yeah, but I can see the chat room now, so that's good. Okay. Well, I don't know. I think if we started a couple minutes early, it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
No, and of course we could always watch Live and Wired when it actually comes on.
Yes.
All right, so this is my tag about books. Feel free to comment, Josh, or anybody else that shows up, and Dawn will hopefully see it. I can't see anything. She has to read my horrible handwriting to read the questions and help me out with the answers I wrote down in case I have a brain fart.
Okay.
Question 1.
Question 1 is, what is your favorite genre?
I have a few favorite genres, and we're going to have several answers probably for all the questions. But I like urban fantasy, I like mystery thrillers, and I like psychological thrillers, and those two kind of go hand in hand a lot. I also like some occult horror, but some of it just does not work so much for me. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I would love to get into H.P. Lovecraft, but I have a feeling like that literature is just too old for me to get into because a lot of the older writing is really dry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's amazing I love family opera as much as I do, because the first 2 times I read it, it was a slog, and I got the audiobook, and it took me about 2 years to listen to the whole thing, but now I absolutely love it.
It's funny how you change, your tastes change and you move into new things.
Yeah, because the first time I read it, I was in high school, so that probably had a lot to do with it.
Oh, people weren't judgmental in high school at all.
No,
not at all.
No, not unless we are forced. Unless you're Dean, then you read War and Peace in 4th grade.
That's true. Okay, and my favorites are suspense, thriller, and true crime.
All right, sounds pretty good. What do you like about those genres?
Well, it's something to be excited about, and there's usually twists that you don't expect that are coming, and then when they come, it's like, wow. And then sometimes it gets a little predictable, but usually I try to find the books where it's like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. But gee, it was smooth.
Yeah. That's one thing I like about the psychological mystery thrillers, because then you might also get an unreliable narrator. Like, there's a James Patterson book I read. I can't remember what it was called. I think it was Now You See Me.
Now You See Her. I have read that.
No, not Now You See Her. It was Now You See Me.
Oh, Now You See
Because
Me.
I've read Now You See Her. I know which one that one is.
Okay.
But this is like a story about a guy who, in the beginning, he's in a subway and he sees a crime happen or something, and he sees a bag with jewels in it, and he takes the jewels. And then later on, you find out that he was the guy that actually shot that guy. But they introduce him initially like this dumb fuck that just happened to run into the, and he's like a double agent.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool. But they don't let you know that until like 2/3 of the way through the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and of course, more psychological thrillers are like other books I'll be talking about. So, anything to add, Josh? No, we have to wait for the laugh to catch up. Is it high enough where you'll see the new one when it shows up? Oh.
Yeah, I'm usually all about that sci-fi fantasy or cyberpunk. I'm also a sucker for spy versus spy fiction with lots of twists and shifting alliances and such.
That sounds a little bit like the book I was just talking about, except that's probably just to a dumber degree. I hate to say dumber. James Patterson's a really good author, but it's probably just not as in-depth as some other books out there, like maybe a Tom Clancy novel would be.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I've heard, Tom Clancy is a slog to get through.
Ugh.
Holy shit. You should watch the Dom's thing on The Hunt for Red October, and he'll tell you about that. All right, what question are we on now? Number 2?
Question number 2 is, who are your favorite authors?
All right, do you want to go first this time?
Sure, I'll go first this time. James Patterson happens to be one of my favorite authors. I like Anne Rule, but she does the true crime. And so I've read a couple of hers. A lot of times it's kind of hard for me to get my hands on those. I have to order them and stuff.
Yeah, that can be tough. You'd have to like go up to Barnes and Noble in Manchester or something.
Yeah, to
That's
try
quite
to
a
look
drive.
for them, and that's quite a ways away. So that's probably not going to happen. But the trusty library is great with that stuff.
Yes, it is.
And I also like Jonathan Kellerman, who does an Alex Delaware series. And Alex Delaware is the psychologist who he deals mostly in child psychology. So it's pretty interesting.
We both like J.K. Rowling for her Harry Potter books, so I know that.
Yes, we love Harry Potter.
Stephen King is one of my absolute favorites. Who else do I have listed? Just because right now I'm drawing almost a blank.
Stephen King, you mentioned Lisa Gardner.
Yes, Lisa Gardner. She does also the thrillers. She does a certain series that I really like.
Chevy Stevens.
Yep, Chevy Stevens is a Canadian author who's really hard to get a hold of down here. I get her books from the Library for the Blind, but there's only like 4 or 5 of them. I think she's fairly new. All the stories take place, all the ones that I've read take place like on an island. Like it's not Prince Edward Island, but it's like in that area, or maybe even further northeast. And there's again, I'll talk about that in the series, but she's so hard to get a hold of out here. I think there are 2 libraries in the state that have her books just in paperback, never mind trying to get a hold of an audiobook.
Wow.
It's a nightmare, but I'm out there when it comes to some of the stuff I like, so it's difficult to get a hold of. Bless you.
Bless you. Yeah, Karen Slaughter.
Yep, Karen Slaughter is another one. She writes mysteries. Yep.
And Jim Butcher.
Jim Butcher, the Dresden Files. That's my urban fantasy man right there. I love every single one of his Dresden books. I mean, all the ones that came out, especially after 8, are my favorites.
And I read most of this series. I haven't finished it yet. I may butcher the author's name, so if I do, forgive me. I think his name is Paul Dorian, Dioiron. And he writes about a Maine game warden who keeps getting pulled into these murder mystery type things, and it's really interesting. The whole idea of the guy being a game warden is just interesting to me. It was amazing to know the things that they do, because in the books a lot of the times he kind of gets almost picked on by other law enforcement. You're not
game wardens cops.
Game wardens aren't really cops, and so he gets into a lot of fights with people. You're a rent-a-cop, you're not real. So it was an interesting series from the beginning, but I haven't read it all yet.
Yeah, that sounds like something I'd be interested in.
Yeah. You may. I'll look up the books for you later, and I'll give you a list.
Yeah, score. Anything to add in the chat?
Dresden Files are epic. Working my way slowly through those. And he also said Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I think.
I've heard of that one, though they sound pretty interesting. I don't know if it's my bag, but it does sound interesting. Because there was a movie reviewer who does Lost in Adaptation reviews based on, the book versus the movie. And the book sounds better. I haven't seen the movie and I don't want to, but the book sounds better.
Okay, and he had a couple of other things he added.
Okay.
He said, Peter David, lots of good Star Trek novels. Dresden Files are epic.
Yep, you read that part.
Yep. Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm a little lost in
You're
that.
using my magnifier now, so.
Yeah. And Ernest Klein says, both Ready Player One and Armada is great too.
Welcome to the chat.
Yeah.
Definitely. Cool. If you want to go back down to maximize the magnifier, you can turn the size down even more, and that will
Okay.
let you see the whole chat room.
Okay.
But that's up to you. If you want to close the magnifier, that's up to you too. Obviously, you gotta go down to the bottom of the screen. You're not down far enough.
No, sorry.
No, here, I'll get you there. Into the, no, that's not even the bottom, I don't think. Let me see it. I'm used to my magnifier. She is not.
I'm just
Okay,
learning
it's
about
right,
magnifiers.
It's right there.
Okay. I'm just learning about magnifiers.
I have to use my magnifier and invert the color. So she's looking at an inverted magnifier image on the screen. So, that better?
That is better.
All right. Question number
3.
3.
Favorite series?
Oh, I've got a bunch of those. Why don't you go first? I think you have less than I do.
I only have 3 that I wrote down, although I will add the 4th with the Paul Doran that I told you about a couple minutes ago. He's one of my favorites. I like the Alex Cross series from James Patterson and Women's Murder Club. And my old standby, because I just think it's like really cool and her story is really cool, is the Harry Potter series.
Yeah, I've got Harry Potter on my list. I know I've got the Chevy Stevens books, but we just looked her up a little bit ago, and it didn't say series. It just had the individual titles. But the thing about that series is, except for one story, which is told from the psychologist's point of view, it's her story. The other ones are basically the therapy sessions she's having with the protagonists. You know, it's them all talking straight to the reader like they're the shrink.
Mm-hmm.
And
You okay?
it's...
Did you just hear Enzo?
Everything okay with the dog? You okay, baby?
Okay.
Uh-oh. What's wrong, honey?
I'll be right back, everybody.
All right. Come here, sweetheart. Let me pause for a second, guys.
Hey, are you okay? Can you breathe?
Hey, come here. Up, up. You okay? Are you okay? You're just being silly, huh? Did you get something up your nose?
I'm not really seeing anything could have got into. I just wanted to check really quick.
That's a good idea. Thank you for that. Because God knows I won't be able to see it. He seems okay, honey.
He seems like he'll be all right. Okay, we'll see what happens. The ups and downs of lives, and what that means for
lives. Yep.
the live series.
So, anything else put up there?
Let's see. You had
I have the Dark Tower series.
Yep.
Because I love Stephen King's Dark Tower series. I have the Harry Potter series. I have the Lunar Chronicles, which is kind of an urban fantasy / sci-fi, and that's it's one series about a particular girl who's a cyborg, but like the first story is like her as the main character, and she's the main heroine through the whole thread, but the other books they're all based on fairy tales. Like the first book is Cinder, and she's Cinder, and the second one is Scarlet, which is Red Riding Hood, and then Cress is Rapunzel, and the fourth is Winter, which is Snow White.
Oh.
Yeah. And there is another one called Mirror Mirror, which is actually the evil queen story. Like, you know, Snow White's evil queen. Because she's the main antagonist of the series.
Mhm.
So they basically pull a, like a Twilight or Christian Grey thing where they go back and they tell a certain story from other characters' point of view. Chevy Stevens I really like. Lisa Gardner I really like. She writes, is she the one that does, I think she's the one that it's either her or Karen Slaughter, I forget which one, that's horrible, does the D.D. Warren series, which takes place in Boston.
Mhm.
And she actually does 2 different series, but they converge because they actually work together from time to time. D.D. Warren and another person. They're mysteries. So, yeah, that's Lisa Gardner does that one now.
Yeah.
Because she does the audiobook I was talking to you about earlier.
And then let's see, favorite books. I'm assuming you mean non-series books.
Well, yeah, one of the books I have is from a series, but I couldn't honestly think of standalone books, even though I know I have plenty.
Mhm.
So I've got a couple of Stephen King books. I've got 11/22/63, which is a kind of time travel book. It's got some horror in it, but there's not a lot. What have we got in the chat window?
Okay.
It's hard to keep an eye on it all.
Sorry.
It's all right.
As I said previously, Hitchhiker's Guide series, Dresden Files, Gibson's Sprawl series, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter series was a good read.
I've never heard of Gibson, so you'll have to tell us what that's about. But yeah, so Stephen King, 11/22/63 and Under the Dome are in my top 5 list. I also really love Stephanie Meyer's The Host.
Mhm.
Like, there are so many people that say it's chauvinistic, and I just don't understand. Maybe because I grew up when all the fiction that was already coming out had a certain point of view, and I just don't look at it as chauvinistic.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've got no problems with it personally. But then again, another one of my series, which I don't think I mentioned a second ago, is the Vampire Diaries, at least the first 6 books. And, well, one of the main male heroes is kind of a pussy, and the other one is a neck raper. So, but I'm still madly in love with both of them. So, I like terrible people in some cases, apparently. Look, and then the Deathly Hollows is the other one I have, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's all going to go down.
Yeah. Sorry.
I saved it.
You're going to be in big trouble. I asked you to be good while I was doing this live stream.
So one of my favorite books.
No, you're not playing on that right now. Put that away. I will let you know when we're done. Go watch YouTube. I will be happy to get you a snack. Why don't you see if anything else is going on in the chat?
Okay.
Well, you also
Well,
tell
you
them,
do. Yeah.
tell them what your favorite standalone books are.
Okay, my favorite standalone books, I like, actually that's part of a series.
If you don't have standalone books, go ahead and just say which ones are your favorite from the series.
I don't read everything from Stephen King. I'm not quite as big of a fan as Star is, but I did read Lisey's Story, and I liked that one. That actually goes under my next question too. But
It's all good.
It's all good.
Here you go, sweetheart.
So, the next question for us, Star, is what books can you always reread?
Well, I don't think I mentioned this before when I said favorite books, because I knew I was missing one. I was like, wait, I only said 4, and I have a top 5.
Mhm.
Susan Kay's Phantom, a retelling of the life story of the Phantom of the Opera. I have ruined a paperback, 2 hardcovers, and I've even taken the audiobook out from the library for the blind a couple of times.
Wow.
I mean, the one I have in the basement right now, since I can't read it anymore, is just falling to pieces. I see you trying to sneak into the view of the camera over there. Thank you very much. I can basically listen to or read any book a multitude of times. I think the ones I've listened to most are all the Dark Tower books. 11/22/63 I've probably listened to at least 18 times. At least. Because I worship the book that Stephen King, I worship that book, period. It's my favorite book of all time, probably. What do you want?
I just really wanted to make people jump.
Just what?
Make people jump.
No, you're not going to make people jump. We are doing something serious over here. Sit down and eat your cookies. Or go watch YouTube. I'm sorry about that. Is there any more comments in the chat?
Yes. And
I can't see them.
I can't see them.
Well.
No.
Oh.
Yeah, you can
Hold
unplug
this
it for a little
over here.
bit. Go ahead and pull
Sorry.
that closer.
Okay.
Sorry, ladies and gents. She's almost as blind as me now.
Yeah, I'm well on my way. Let's see. William Gibson coined the term cyberpunk. The Sprawl series consists of Neuromancer, Count Zero, and Mona Lisa Overdrive, and is very much a cyberpunk noir adventure series.
That sounds like something that'd be intriguing.
It does.
Definitely. I will keep them in mind. You'll have to message me that later, okay? Did you answer that question yet?
And he just said, I did answer that. He said, I tend not to reread stuff unless it's for reference, and then never all the way through. I usually tend to enjoy stories again, though, being turned into movies or TV shows rather than rereading.
That makes sense, but I'm just one of those people. And once I get into a rut, it's like, yeah, new books are great, but I know these books. I love these books, and I stay in my comfort zone for a little while. Or if I don't do that with the books, I'll do it with the author. Like, as soon as I discovered Karen Slaughter, I was so disappointed she only had, like, 5 books. Because it's like, I've listened to them all 6 times already. I want more. You know, it's like Stephen King's not going to be writing new material pretty soon. That's going to be devastating. Although I have not listened to a single book from the new series he wrote. The Mercedes series. Mercedes Revival, all those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't listened. That one just doesn't appeal to me right now. So maybe someday. But right now I just haven't felt any drive to listen to that one. I like his mostly older stuff, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what's our next question?
The next question is, what is the first book you can remember reading? And ironically, it's the same for both of us.
The monster at the end of this book.
Yes, it's the monster at the end of this book.
Starring lovable furry old Grover.
I think my grandmother read me to sleep with that for like 2 years. I absolutely adored that book.
Yeah. I mean, I know I read a book earlier than that because I keep being told by my family about how I could read the bust book upside down. Like, I just knew it word for word. And I'd be like, oh, look, I'm reading. And I was holding it upside down. But it's like that one. And I'm so glad I found the first sequel with Elmo for Vinny because we just loved reading those books together. And the other one I read was when my grandma, when I was about 7, got my first communion, and my aunt gave me a children's Bible.
Mm-hmm.
It was extremely simplified. Vinny had had no problem saying most of the words in it or reading most of the words now. And I loved that book. I read that a lot too.
Oh, and we have another comment here.
Is that from Josh?
It
Or?
is from Josh. It
Okay.
says, I do that with TV shows. If I find a show I really enjoy, I try to find out who made or wrote it, track them down online, and start a dialogue. Wonderful time to be living.
Oh yeah, gotta
Yeah.
love how small the world is when you join a fandom. Actually, I've just initiated Dawn into the Vampire Diaries fandom for the TV show, so that's one of the reasons she's visiting me. So we can keep going. She's at the beginning of season 4 right now, and I'm like 8 episodes ahead of her, even though I've seen the show 6 times.
She can probably tell me everything that happens, and I could skip watching, but then that wouldn't be any fun.
No, you get even less hot and Summer Holder action.
Yeah, that's true.
And the thing I used to be like, but Rutger Hauer has to play Damon. Not this Damon.
No.
Nope, Ian Summer is so much better. Then again, when I used to think that Rutger Hauer was still young and semi-hot.
Mm-hmm.
So, if he was ever hot. I just liked him when I was a kid, so. 4th grade, I got introduced to him, erotic thriller, so.
You lived a very unsheltered life.
Very unsheltered. I was watching all 3 Poltergeist movies by the time I was 5 or 6. Like, all 3 hadn't even come out, really. All right, next question, please. Just keep an eye on that if you see something pop up.
Okay.
I don't know how many people are watching now or who caught this, but this is my sister-in-law. Her name is Dawn. And for those of you who don't know yet, my name is Star. So, that's me. I just tend not to use it in my videos. It's just easier that way.
What books did you hate reading in school?
Oh, where to begin? Shall we begin with the 3 I listed? I hated, and I can't actually remember most of the plots of these 3 books anymore, but I had A Separate Peace and Lord of the Flies, but that one I remember. But I'll get to that in a second. And what was the last one I put?
Catcher in the Rye.
Catcher in the
Jamie
Rye.
Sally.
a separate piece in Catcher in the Rye bored me to tears. And I was offended by, especially, I think it's a separate piece. I swear to God, that protagonist was a sociopath. You know, it's like I hear people talk about the plot of that one now, and I'm like, where are you getting this emotional shit from? He was a prick. You know, there's something I miss. But Lord of the Flies, I felt like I didn't have to read because I had seen the when did that one come out? The 90s movie. When it came out ish, and then I went to rewatch it when I knew we were supposed to read the book junior year, and it terrified me. And I went to my teacher the next day. I said, I will do the test, I will do whatever I have to do, but I am not reading this book again. I am letting you know right now, prepare to fail me for not finishing this book, because the books are usually worse than the movies, and I could not handle the movie. I can handle blood and guts all day. I could not handle Lord of the Flies. So just something in that really hit a nerve in me.
Yeah.
So, what about you?
I did not like Catcher in the Rye. I was not a fan of that at all. And I don't even remember the whole plot anymore. Apparently, that's how much I disliked it.
Yeah. Yeah, what's funny to me is I'm like, I never read Lolita, but I'm like, isn't there something similar between those books? There's some similar vein. It must all be just jerks as protagonists or something. Any more comments?
Nope.
Okay, fair enough.
And let's see. What books have disappointed you and why?
All right. Do you have any for that?
Um,
I don't remember you writing any down, but
not really, because I tend to be more objective with it. I just say, well, they're gonna change things, and I have to know that, and I kind of can roll with the change. I'm not really. I don't get that angry when they switch things up on me.
yeah.
I just take it as like that's a different perspective than I would have thought of it as, you know.
Yeah. Well, we're not talking about adaptations. We're just talking about the books. So, but you don't. I was so disappointed with my three. I have The First Time She Drowned, which is a story about a girl who's and her relationship. She goes to college. Like in the beginning of the book, she's actually getting out of a mental institution. And she's been there for a long time because I think they sent her there in early or middle high school. And she's going to college. And she has this really strange relationship with her family, but especially her mother. And you find out through the course of the story, especially by the end, that an aunt who was very dear to her mother molested her, when she was a kid. And that's where a lot of her problems came from, was her trying to cope with that. So this book would be a trigger for some people. But what got me was the book itself was just so boring. When it did the flashbacks, it got a little interesting, but the protagonist wasn't interesting enough to really keep you invested. And the relationship with the mother was frustrating. And then in the end, it's kind of like oh yeah, we're finally going to acknowledge this happened. And then it just is like, and we keep living. My mom couldn't accept that this happened, so I shut her out of my life. And yeah, I'm here. Nothing's better. I'm just going to school. And that's how it ends. And I was like, it's real. It's super real life, but it's so frustrating to just slog through this book and stick with it because the premise has promise to get to the end with absolutely zero payoff whatsoever. It's like you understand this is real life and that they're writing it like real life at least, but you're like, it's a book. We deserve a little bit more payoff if it's a piece of fiction.
We have a couple other comments.
All right.
So it says, this is from the Late Late Horror Show. Evening,
Dino!
nice to see you live.
Good to see you, man.
And then Josh Harden said, nothing really stands out in my mind, but I've read a couple chapters of quite a few books that I just sat down and forgot about.
Okay, fair enough.
And one of those for me, I did say that I was a huge fan of James Patterson, and I am. However, he wrote a book that it was like a story that the character in the book was writing. And I couldn't get through that book. I tried, and finally Dean just looked at me and said, just give up. Just forget it. Just give up. You're never gonna read it. I'm like, all right, you're probably right. I'll give up.
Yeah. I have two other books that are there. One is My Name is Memory, which again had a really interesting premise. I mean, the book's actually just bad all around, I realize, but it was at least interesting to me. Some bad books can still catch your attention. It's about this guy who keeps being reincarnated and he can remember all his past lives. And through a lot of these lives, like as far back to the earliest life he can remember, there was this girl. You know, and she keeps reappearing in his life, but every time she appears in his life, there's the guy who was his brother in his first life, who was her husband in that first life, who ended up, you know, well, maybe not in the first life, but I think it was like the second or third life. But I mean, he's always the bad guy and antagonist. And at the end of this book, you think it's finally going to be all settled, they're going to have a happy ending, you know, and he's going to have his girl, but the bad guy is still alive, and he like puts her in like a Muslim temple in China or something, and she's pregnant. But the last chapter is her talking about how she's this far along and she hasn't seen him since he went to finish off his brother and get rid of him so he couldn't terrorize him anymore. And that's where the book ends. We never find out if he came back, and you're left to assume he never did, and they're having another tragic ending. I know I have one more book there, don't I? I have 3 books there.
The Forgetting.
The Forgetting. The Forgetting is the first book in a series, a young adult, a dystopian society where every 12 years, everybody in the city forgets something. Forgets everything in their past, you know? And the female protagonist of that book eventually finds out that sometimes people are given new identities while everybody's unconscious, because there's certain people that are remembering because they're inoculated to it. And it's just like, it's all of a sudden you find out it's on a different planet. These people came from Earth initially, and they're going to go back to Earth on a spaceship or something. And I'm like, that blows. I'm just like, something about this. Once you went on for 4 chapters after she found this out, and she found out she could inoculate everyone and this wouldn't have to happen, because it had something to do with the tree molting every 12 years, you know, like something in the tree made everybody forget. It's like, oh my God. I love those types of stories, but I'm not reading this one any further. At least not for several years, you know. I might be convinced to someday.
And we have another person who commented, and Deacon.
Deus!
I'm sorry. I apologize. Oh.
Do you want me to call you by name, Deus, or do you just want me to call you Deus? It's good to see you. But what did he say?
He said, "Hey Star, long time watcher, first time commenter. Do you have any books that you think everyone should read?"
Ooh, that's a good question.
How are you gonna see that on your computer?
Danny, please don't interrupt us. Thank you.
I wonder how you do
It doesn't matter. You're interrupting us. Get over there now. Go. Go. I will hug you later. 1. The Perils of Live TV and Motherhood.
Yes.
Everyone should read, huh? I think everybody should get a chance to read Harry Potter. Maybe the Hunger Games.
Maybe the Hunger Games. Yeah.
The Dark Tower series.
I actually haven't even gotten all through that myself, but I'd like to.
Yeah. The first book, I actually don't think it even gets good until like the second one. Like, I actually hate the first book. I know every single thing that happens, but for some reason I hate the first book.
Okay, we have the Late Horror Show saying, have you read The Vampire Chronicles, my favorite series?
I have read The Vampire Chronicles. I've read Interview, Vampire Lestat. I read the first several. Queen of the Damned, Memnoch the Devil, The Body Thief, Pandora, The Vampire Armand. I want to say there was another one in there somewhere, but I also read a couple of other Anne Rice books, like The Mummy, Cry to Heaven, one of the Sleeping Beauty books, which is just bondage smut, actually, which I didn't know when I picked it up. Didn't know she had that in her. I should have known based on Cry to Heaven, because it's about 2 castrati lover, like back in the Italian days. Amazing books. I don't care for Anne Rice as a person anymore, so I've been staying away from some of her books, and I'm glad I haven't read the later ones, because apparently she's just inventing shit now. Apparently vampires aren't demons that possessed blood. They're aliens that were made themselves seem to be demons or something like that. Don't quote me on it. I haven't read the book. But once I think it's called Blood and Gold came out, that was where I gave up on it, honestly. And I was really disappointed because Marius was my favorite character through the whole series.
Mhm.
But I had to give that one up. Have you read any of those?
The Vampire Lestat and the
Interview?
Interview.
Yeah.
I read like 2 of them, and then I just kind of got away from it. I do that a lot, so you'll find, oh, she started a series, oh, she got 3 books in, she just stopped.
Some people think that a whole series just can't hold them. You know, they want new stuff. They don't want the same old, but
Okay. It says, yeah, Blood and Gold was where she changed.
yeah. I was so looking forward to that. Like, oh, Marius finally is a main character. I cannot wait. We've learned so much about his backstory and history. Like, the Vampire Armand is basically a good excuse for gay smut, in a way.
Mm.
But I loved the story, you know? I wanted to know what that relationship was and what it was like. And then you're like, well, he was Roman, so it makes sense he was a little bit of a PO, but, you know, but it's still a little disappointing. And it just couldn't hold my interest. It had been a good 10 years since I'd even read one of the books. But I think Queen of the Damned is probably my favorite out of those.
Yes. Do we have any other questions? I don't think we did.
Oh, I thought we had more questions.
I thought we did too, but that was number 7, and that's the last of what we got.
Oh my goodness, how did we get through those so fast? Are there any other questions from you guys? I mean, you can ask us questions that we might have already answered. We can cover it again. It won't be a big deal. A way to cover the awkward silence. Take a sec. Sorry, guys. We have like 20-second lag here, so we have to wait for you to hear what we're saying and then type.
Let's see. Josh Harden. Inventing a different take on classic popular creatures / societies can be fun, though. For example, there are a ton of interpretations for stories about Atlantis or Norse mythology.
Mhm.
Sometimes it works.
Sometimes things work. I like things like, say, the Percy Jackson series. I mean, it's not a favorite because I've only actually read the first book,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm waiting for Vinny to get a little older because that would barely help him.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we can continue that at some point.
And Late Horror Show says, do more live. Enjoyed this.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Unfortunately, I did have you on when you guys did your Nightbreed thing, but I don't even know if that was actually live, was it? I got lost about that. The thing about the premiering now function confuses the heck out of me. Like Emma from Spooky Astronauts did a premiering now thing, and I'm like, oh yay, we can all chat, and I'm like, oh, but it's not live. It's just a video that's premiering now with a chat room next to it. So that confuses me a little.
No, it's a premiere.
Yeah, that confused me. I was looking forward to that too. I was like, oh, I get to actually talk about how mad I feel about this brand new this movie I just saw for the first time. But it was what it was. Nothing wrong with it. Unfortunately, he distracted me for most of it. As you can tell, he's very good at the distracting, right? And I probably won't get to do too many lives unless I just do my reviews live, but that would feel very awkward to me. I usually need to at least halfway script it, especially doing it by myself. This is so much easier.
Well, this is easier because you can bounce the ideas off each other. And, well, what did you think about this? And, but I will say, this has gotten me comfortable on camera, so thank you, Star. Because I have some things that I needed to be doing, going live, and I thought, I just can't do it. Okay, we have something from Josh Hart. It says, this strays away from books, but I enjoyed the I'm sorry. I have the beginning of cataracts, forgive me. I can't read it. The trapment of, sorry, I'm like right here.
Do you need that?
Treatment, sorry, okay, it says treatment of Asgardians as aliens, both in Marvel Comics as well
as well.
As a very different interpretation of the same idea in Stargate SG-1.
So now you've left my category
Her wheelhouse,
entirely.
right?
Yeah, my wheelhouse entirely. Like, people talk about comic books all the time, and I'm like, can we talk about something else, please? Unless you're talking about the Batman movies, I know nothing.
And the Late Late Horror Show said, maybe you can come on with me, Star, and talk about your favorite horror films.
Oh, that would be fun. That would be fun. My computer sucks. It would have to be a thing where I was just like on a Facebook, FaceTime thing with you, and you'd have to record it or something, but that would be a blast. You know, I've been thinking about inviting people like you and Deus and, you know, people just to have fun with me doing this, but I don't have the proper equipment. My computer barely can even save a Word document. That's why I did this live. I mean, it's just horrible. I'm recording this on my phone. That's how horrible my computer is. But I would love that. It would be such a blast. I really love like the reviews you do with Ted, and they're so much fun.
Yeah. She's gotten me into watching them. For a very long time, I was like, oh, what is the big deal about YouTube? Then I discovered YouTube, really, and I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
First heard about it, I was like,
I think I showed you one or two of Deus's things, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And we've been watching a lot of the Dom. A lot of the Dom's Lost in Adaptation series.
And Josh Harden says, if you need help, I can explain methods for capturing Skype conversations live. We'll talk offline if you like.
Awesomeness. That'd be great.
And he says, laugh out loud, now you're hooked. From when I said that I am hooked.
Yeah. Definitely hooked, yep. Nah, I eased her in gently with the Dom.
Yeah.
Moved her on to Deus Deacon, and then I introduced her to Count Dracula and the horror guru. So we're getting there. And she's not even a big horror fan, so I've been trying to find other branches of stuff. Like, haven't actually introduced her to you guys yet, Dino, but I thought I'd give her some of the more straightforward addressing the camera stuff first.
Yeah.
But yeah. And actually, Dino, you guys are actually kind of what inspired me to do this with her. It's like you and off-the-shelf reviews and Guru and Dracula. I'm like, I want to do that where I get to just have a conversation. They're so much fun.
They are so much fun. And it's so much easier because you're not thinking, oh, well, I'm just talking to no one. It's really hard to sit there and think to yourself, I'm talking to no one, and make it sound like you're excited.
Yeah. Hey, Dino, what are some of your favorite horror books? Do you have any?
Nope.
Waiting for the light.
I was just gonna say that. I was just gonna say that. And of course, I'm staring kind of at what appears, I'm sure, blankly at the screen, but it's because I can't see it either.
Yeah, you're also staring off screen, so
Yeah.
the camera's way over there.
I'll get it right sometimes, guys, I promise.
I'm not looking that way either. I keep looking at you, so they're getting like my hair.
They're getting your hair, they're getting probably like...
It's alright, I'll flash some of my fake diamonds.
Ooh.
Anything up there?
Yes.
Alright.
Most Stephen King.
Woo-hoo.
He has The Exorcist.
Well, no, I didn't actually read that book. That was a hard one for me. I actually loved The Omen, though, as the book. But yeah, what are your favorite Stephen King books? Like, if you had to pick 3, it could be a part of his series, that's a word.
We make up words here.
All the time. Like a Paca Piccolo.
She says it when I'm drinking, people, so I can publicly nearly
What did you say?
gag.
Get out of here, go.
No.
Yes.
It's like, what great timing, Star. Thank you.
That's a word she invented about 10 years ago when she was trying to say apocalypto.
That's just how it came out. I don't know. I make up words all the time. They're strange, and you usually have to say, and what exactly would that be? But
The ernda. That's a Clark. That the family I married into. It's like the Ernda.
Okay, so Late Late Horror Show says It, The Dark Tower, and Tommyknockers. I loved Tommyknockers.
I liked the movie. I don't think I was so into the book, but I don't. The book and the movie are kind of on par for me, but they're okay. They're not my favorites. They're okay. I actually, a book I hated for a while was Gerald's Game, but I actually just reintroduced myself to it after Netflix came out with the movie, and it wasn't that bad. It's like I had to refine my taste a little bit for that one because I think I was still in late middle school the first time I tried to read that, and there's nothing like not even having really fully hit puberty yet and trying to read about a half-naked chick handcuffed to a bed, with a dead husband on the ground, the Dark Tower series, or is there a specific book in the series, Dina? But I like Dolores Claiborne, The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, 11/22/63, and Under the Dome. Those are my favorite Stephen King ones.
I like Dolores Claiborne.
Oh, and the audiobook is great because I forget her name. Her name is Frances something or other. But she played the sheriff's wife in Misery, the movie. And she's the one that reads the book. And oh my God, she is so good. I love the audiobook. That's another one I could just keep listening to over and over again.
Yeah.
And now that I got the Talisman on audio for Christmas, I'm like, more thank you. Pardon me? Sorry about that. He's obviously trying to get attention. I'm trying to keep him off of the World Wide Web as a face as much as I can. It's not working so well. Any other comments?
I don't see any.
Okay, fair enough. Deus, do you have anything to add about good books? Are you still there?
Hi there.
My puppy.
Here.
Whose glasses are those?
Put those back, please. Now. Those are my mom's. She's got like 20 pairs.
Oh.
They're store-bought.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I look at glasses and I assume they cost somebody $400 and I don't. And I tell them not to dump them.
Yeah. For those of you who are also wondering another thing, I am actually legally blind and I can see, but like especially I might have a new retinal ulcer or something. I see through a cloud, I see through scar tissue. It's very complicated, but my eyes have not been good. So there's no way I could have gone live by myself tonight because there's no way I could have read all your lovely comments. It wouldn't have happened.
And I'm glad I could be here to support you for that, and it made me more comfortable on camera.
Yeah. Are you still on camera? It's like, I can't tell anymore.
I can't tell. I'm not sure.
I think you are now, if you weren't.
Oh, okay.
So, still
I was just introduced to a book
Is that
called Deus.
Okay.
Book called A Confederacy of Dunces, an amazing comedy, but that's about it.
Oh, comedy. That's something I don't do so well, but if you want to talk about books that are comedies that I really, really liked,
Where's
What-
the juice?
I will pour you some in just a minute. There are juice boxes in there, but you would have to tear open the box and all sorts of stuff like that. Okay?
Who's talking to you?
Everybody. That's all I'm going to say. But I like warm bodies.
Oh.
Like warm bodies, it's like I hate zombies anyway for the most part. There's like 2 or 3 movies I like.
Oh,
But, like a play on Twilight, but with zombies, whatever. Like that could be a little fun just to play with it. Look at that. It's also a version of Romeo and Juliet, actually, in its own way. And yeah, the movie's a little stupid. The book's a little stupid, but it's meant to be. But it's more adult. And it's just, there's a little bit more that goes into the zombie characters and their hierarchy and stuff like that. And I enjoyed Warm Bodies. It's something I'd read again. But, I mean, the Dresden Files is pretty damn comedic. you know? Here. Stop, please. One of the questions I did not write down was what are some quotes from books that have stuck with you? And you were having trouble. I think you were looking for some of the poignant ones. But I mean, one of my favorites is from a Dresden Files book where essentially the quote is, all of a sudden I wanted nothing more than to melt into a bubbling puddle on the floor of, please don't kill me. And I was just like, oh my God, that's so funny. Oh my God, it sticks with me. It's my favorite book in the whole series, and there are like 13 books in it already. I don't know why. And another one from a different book was he's describing Maeve, Queen Mab's daughter, coming out, and he's talking about how she's naked and everything, and he's like, and her, well, let's just say she had been vajazzled. I was like, oh my God.
Oh, Fight Club. How could I forget about that book? Insanely quotable. Done to death. Great stuff.
I haven't read Fight Club. The movie's enjoyable, but I have not read the book. I don't know if I've had the opportunity to, and I just didn't get into it. I can't remember. The Library for the Blind sends me books without me asking quite a bit, and usually it's an author I told them not to send me. Like I said earlier, Dean Koontz, all the time. The Stephen King books they send me, I love King, but those are like the old audiobooks before they were even coming out with commercial audiobooks, just transferred to the digital thing I get. And they suck. It's like, are we reading a library card catalog? Can you be any more animated? Can you? Oh my God, your voice is horrible. Oh God, can people remember back when you still had the cassette tapes? Or the days before they were smart enough to hire people like Kathy Bates and Kenneth Branagh. Oh, it's another book I love. I think everybody should read Frankenstein, the Modern Prometheus by Mary Shelley. That's another one. Days you wanted to know, everybody should read that book. That is, and if you can, although I very much doubt it, get a hold of the one that Kenneth Branagh read, because he's a brilliant reader. And one of my other favorite audiobooks is The Langoliers, read by Willem Dafoe. Oh my God, that's so fun. That was my first experience with an audiobook other than Raptor Red. I just happened to get that for Christmas one year, but that's not one that really sticks too much with me. Anything new?
Oh, now there's something new.
Woohoo!
Reviews on Slaughterhouse-5 I'm starting to read as well. Only after disaster can we be resurrected. It's only after you've lost everything that you're free to do anything. Nothing is static. Everything is evolving. Everything is falling apart. Fight Club.
Who said that one?
Josh.
Awesome, Josh. I like that. I do like that. That's, for me, it doesn't have much to it, but it's out of context. But it's still cool. Like, there are a lot of Dresden Files I like. Like, the last actual book he came out with, I think it was Skin Game. He does this inner monologue about how you forget how important just a touch can be because his friend Michael gives him a hug. And he's like, oh my, and it hits him in this place because he's in such a terrible mental place at that moment. It's like, you forget how humans just need to interact, you know? And I can't quote it for you, it's too long and I wouldn't get it right anyway, but there's some really good things like that. Maybe somebody else could remember for me, because I don't actually have the book anymore, but in the book of Frankenstein, if you've read it, does the creature ever tell the captain that he was never given a name? Because I remember in the Robert De Niro, Kenneth Branagh movie that Robert De Niro as the creature says that to the captain, and I just remember one day watching that in English class, and that made me cry. You know, he's there sitting over his horrible creator's dead body, and he's like, and the captain's like, who are you? He's like, he never gave me a name. And I just started bawling in the middle of the classroom. I can't remember if it was in the book, but it's such a potent line. you know. Hi, Enzo. Did you come in here to fill my empty, silent, awkward space? Is that what you did? Anything else, or are we just...
No, I think well,
There we
the
go.
Lately Horror Show. Listen to a lot of audiobooks myself.
All right.
I'm
cool.
kind of moving in that direction. I used to like to just sit there and read a book, and now that my eyesight is going nowhere near as bad as Stars, but my eyesight is starting to go too, I just kind of enlarge it as much as I can, but there will be a time when I can't read it either.
Yeah. Oh God, when my mom, I don't give away too many personal details online, but my mom used to work 3 minutes down the road from here, then she got laid off. And then she got rehired for the same company, but now she's 40 minutes away. You know, in a bigger office building, over the state line. And she needed something to fill the time, and that surprised me because I'm like, don't you usually like it quiet? Every time I get in the car, you want it quiet, but maybe that's because you're sick of my Broadway stuff, you know? Or my country, who knows, even though she likes country too. But I lent her the Lindsay Boxer book, The Sixth Target, the James Patterson book. It wasn't that one, it was the Michael Bennett book, Step on a Crack, that's what it was. And even though I was missing the first disc for some reason, she took that book, and it's just, my refrigerator is obnoxiously loud, I apologize. But she's been hooked. Like, she's always going to the library to get more audiobooks now because she loves listening to them. Like, if we're writing, it's like half the time I'm like, Mom, can we please listen to music for a change? Because now it's at the point where she'll play it when we're going down to my grandmother's house. And I'm like, you're in the middle of a story I don't know. It's really hard to get invested in this when I have no clue what's going on. It's like,
when Dean does that in the car, I tell him, you can't start that till you tell me basically everything that happened before this point, so I can decide if I like it and try to understand it.
Well, last time that happened, I was like, Mom, fill me in. She's like, I really just started it. And I'm like, well, something happened before now. There's obviously something that's happened. I could tell you about 6 things I know must have happened, but did it happen before the story and they're just playing catch up? What the fuck? Tell me what's happening. She doesn't like the same kind of stories I do, but she did like 11/22/63.
Cool.
Yeah. So I was like, I suckered another one in.
Okay, that was it.
That's it? Okay. Well, you know what, guys? I've had a blast. Hopefully next time I do this, it'll be about something a little bit more interesting than books, because I could talk books all day and night. Maybe next time it'll be about diaries.
Okay.
Because I've read the first 6 books of the Vampire Diaries. We're in the process of you seeing the series.
Yes.
And that video I really want to do about the differences. Maybe we can talk about that.
Maybe we could just discuss the differences next
Yeah.
time.
Or just go on a Vampire Diaries rant.
Yeah. All right.
So this is going to be my video for this month. Because of my eyesight problems, I really don't have the vision it's going to take to make a video and edit it. But assuming my eyes get better, I'm going to see about reviewing Tin Man, the sci-fi miniseries with Zooey Deschanel and Richard Dreyfuss next month. And that'll be my birthday month, so considering how into the Wizard of Oz I am, that'll be a great time to do that one.
And Josh Harden says, Alice in Wonderland is also incredibly quotable, in part to being written in a variety of literary and poetic sections. Another great book.
Awesome. Yeah, I haven't read Lewis Carroll either. You would think I'd read that by now. But I have read the A.G. Howard series, which is kind of a modern retelling. I love me my modern retellings of fairy tales. I love them. Based on the Lunar Chronicles, I think y'all know that already. Dino, Deus, Josh, I know there's somebody else that made a comment, but I don't know if you're still here because I don't think if you said anything since.
And Josh said, OMG, Tin Man was epic. I forgot all about that. You'd be perfect for that review.
Josh did?
Yeah, Josh.
Well, thank you, Josh. Say most of the reason I love that series is because of Alan Cumming's Glitch. You know me and the Scarecrow. That's all I'm saying, Josh. You know me and the Scarecrow. She knows me and the Scarecrow.
I do.
All right, for the rest of you, ever since I was 3 years old, I had a huge crush on the Ray Bolger Scarecrow, and I've just kind of fallen in love with every single adaptation of him since.
Mhm.
Whether he was a puppet or whatever, don't freaking matter. Don't care. I love him. But it's just kind of lived into my adulthood to my shame. Am I blushing yet?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you guys for coming out and supporting me, and I cannot wait to do this again. And much love to you guys, and I will see you soon. And excuse me while I fumble with my phone to turn off the live stream.
Awesome. Thank you.
Where's my option? Are you sure you want to stop streaming? Okay.